What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm your host, Haize, and unfortunately, sickness has been trying to take me out. It's been trying to keep me away from the show. As we continue to grow, it's always going to be something. This is the first time that I've been this sick, maybe ever. I'm not somebody who usually gets sick. Especially I don't lose my voice for a long amount of time. I'm sure as you guys can still hear it, my voice isn't still 100%, not all the way back yet. But I feel like I'm good enough to try to go for a bit of an episode here. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about what the Chicago Bulls can do to make this series against the Milwaukee Bucks interesting. We know that a lot of people and Bulls fans are down on the Chicago Bulls' chances to even make this an interesting series against the Milwaukee Bucks. But we'll talk about all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So the Bulls prepare to start off their playoff series against the Milwaukee Bucks tomorrow. We've already had some great playing games, some high-octane playing games. And this year, the playoffs are going to be fun to watch for basketball fans from top to bottom, I really do feel like. But we're here because this is what the channel does. We focus on the Chicago Bulls and the Bulls versus Bucks series. What can the Bulls do to just make this series interesting? We know that not a lot of people are giving the Bulls a chance against the Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks swept the season series against the Chicago Bulls, and so it makes sense. Especially when you look at the way that the Bulls played down the stretch since the All-Star break. Only 8 wins since the All-Star break. Just this isn't going to cut it. That's not going to earn a lot of good faith from viewers, from fans, from Bulls Nation, from people who aren't the biggest Bulls fans, who just are just fans of basketball. And some people only watch the basketball during the playoffs. Like there are some people who literally come on board and they watch playoff series and they don't really pay attention to basketball throughout the rest of the season. The Chicago Bulls, in my opinion, while there's a lot of things that they need to do, the biggest thing to me is that they need to rediscover their heart. I said it before, and I've been saying it for the longest. The thing that hurt me the most as a fan is when I started having to question the heart of this team. When I started having to question just how good this team was, right? Looking at that, it was extremely bothersome. It was worrisome how this team competed and lack thereof competed. The games that they lost against teams like the Kings, teams that they should have easily beaten. So coming into this playoff series, if the Bulls can rediscover their heart, right? Rediscover that determination, that chip on their shoulder. And if you look at it now, the fact that so many people are counting the Bulls out, so many even Bulls fans are counting the Bulls' chances completely down and out against the Milwaukee Bucks, does that adding that chip back on the Bulls' shoulder add that edge back to this team, that edge that we've been so severely missing for a long time. The Bulls were one of those teams, once they did start achieving, right? Once they did start winning, that you saw that chip on their shoulder go away and go away and go away. And that's one of the things I talked about early in the season is that every player on this team had a different reason to have a chip on their shoulder. Zach LaVine, a player who doesn't play winning basketball, who's never won anything. He's just an empty stat guy. DeMar DeRozan, he always falters in the playoffs. Ayo Dosunmu, how many teams overlooked him? Lonzo Ball, everything there. He's not as good as what, if it wasn't for the hype his dad gave him. There were so many reasons for players to have chips on their shoulder going into this, and I think they played with that edge at the beginning of the season. If they can rediscover that edge in this playoff series, if they can rediscover that edge and that determination, just want to prove people wrong, I think that can go a long way in making this series interesting. I notice I'm not saying win this series because I think at this point, while I do want to see the Bulls win this series, I would love for the Bulls to win the series. Just realistically, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't see a world in which that happens. Now, if it does happen, I'm going to be one of the first ones to be so excited, screaming on here, and loving the team for doing so. But I think we first need to make it interesting. We first need to compete. We need to find a way to compete with the Milwaukee Bucks. That's going to be playing together. That's going to be to find a new edge. We now have Patrick Williams on this team, somebody who, again, Bulls fans, they don't see the upside in him sometimes. The hate on him for not being as aggressive. Is that another chip on the shoulder? Do they find and unlock something with Patrick Williams with his playmaking, his ball handling, his aggression, his 3-point shooting and being what it is? there's a lot of things on this team that, if it can come together, they can definitely make this series interesting. Can anyone on this team guard Giannis? No, but that's nobody in the NBA who can guard Giannis, right? The thing that the Bulls are going to have to do is try to find a way to guard everyone. Holiday, Portis, Lopez. They're going to have to find a way to keep those guys from going off against the Chicago Bulls and keeping them from being the ones that really blow this series up. That also means we're going to need big contributions from Kobe White. We're going to need big contributions from Ayo Dosunmu. We're going to need Derrick Jones Jr., if he's getting minutes in this series, to come off the bench and use that shot blocking, that athleticism, that length. The Chicago Bulls team has a lot of tools and a lot of different weapons. As dour as it looks right now for the Bulls, as many people is not giving the Bulls very much chances to do much in this series, the Bulls have an opportunity now to end this series, right? And I would say, even if the Bulls, if they win the 2 games at home and push this series out to 6, I think that will go a long way in restoring the faith of the Chicago Bulls nation heading into the offseason. And we know AK and Eversley are going to get to work. We know they're going to continue to improve this bench. They're going to continue to make moves to improve this roster. They're going to try to get as close to contendership every year as they possibly can. But the Bulls need to find and rediscover that heart. They need to do that in this series. They need to find a way to do that. You look at the teams that had those playing games, especially the ones last night. Brandon Ingram, right? The way that he took over that game down the stretch. Trae Young in that game. Like, we need those type of performances from some players on the Chicago Bulls for us to make this series interesting. It's not going to be easy. It sounds way easier than it ever will be, right? To just say, hey, make this series interesting. It sounds a lot easier than what it will be. But I think the Chicago Bulls have enough on this team, if they can get back to playing with that chip on their shoulder, that focus, that playing for each other, right? That they have enough to try to make it interesting against the Milwaukee Bucks, to give us an entertaining series against the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't lay down against Milwaukee Bucks. I at this point, I wouldn't even care if it is a 4-game sweep. If it's a tough 4 games and the Bulls are competitive in every one of those 4 games down the stretch, that goes a long way as well. This team needs to play hard. They need to play with heart, and they need to play with determination. And that's what I know a lot of Bulls fans want as well. Let me know down below what you guys think. What are some of the things that you think the Bulls can do to really unlock some things in this series? We'll be dropping a video again tomorrow before the game to kind of go over the game a little bit in more detail. But as a first video back after a long hiatus, an unexpected hiatus, I just wanted to talk about the heart of this team, the heart of Bulls Nation, and how hopefully this team can rediscover that heart before this playoff series against the Milwaukee Bucks start. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, question, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Also, if you want to leave us a text or voicemail, you can do so at 773-270-2799. Like I like to end everything on Go Bulls, see red, don't be red. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.